we're back once again with another episode of
The Horror Guys. Number 205.
It is.
And you're Ryan.
I am. And who are you?
I'm Kevin. We're going to talk about a thing. Not quite a movie this week.
Going to watch some TV this week.
A little bit of a different format.
Yeah, usually we do 4 horror movies in a short. This week we're going to do 8 TV shows in a short. About the same amount of time involved.
Commercial-free TV, though.
Netflix.
Cable TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guillermo Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. It's a brand new anthology series available on Netflix. And it's been out for a month or two, but we finally got around to watching it. We're a little slow on our TV shows.
Because there's so much to watch.
It's been a busy couple months with Halloween.
So many good things to see and so many new things, but we got around to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to stay on the theme, with our Horror Bulletin newsletter, we've added 2 more of Guillermo del Toro's films. Pinocchio, a brand new one from 2022. Maybe not quite as horrific as some of his other things, but it's got some moments.
Not suitable for children either.
Probably not.
Yeah, it's not the Disney version for sure.
I've heard that one. I have not seen it, but I heard that one with Tom Hanks is really kind of boring.
Oh.
It's very bland.
Like Disney's version.
That is Disney's
only blander.
Version. It's a remake of Disney.
Oh, it is. The remake of the cartoon.
They did the cartoon in the 1940s, and this is the live-action remake, and I've heard it's really bad.
Oh, okay.
But this is...
this was entertaining. I liked this Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says 2 grown-ups.
Yeah.
And then we've also got Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark from 2019. To check out both those reviews, go over to horrorbulletin.com, read them on the site, or sign up for the free weekly newsletter, where you get all our regular stuff from the horrorguys.com site and this podcast, as well as 2 or 3 sometimes extra bonus movies. Everybody likes bonuses, right?
I love bonuses.
Hey, one more thing. 3 years ago, we watched some movies.
Yeah?
Before long, we're going to hit our 4th anniversary, and we're going to have to pop back to 4 years.
And we're going to say, what?
3 years ago this week, on episode 51, we looked at Calling Dr. Death.
That was a Lon Chaney
Jr.
Yeah, I had to double check on that one. That was the...
Inner Sanctum one, yes.
Yeah, with the talking head that introduces things.
Yeah, the talking head and the crystal ball.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss of the Vampire. A Hammer vampire movie that didn't have Christopher Lee in it.
What?
That was more supernatural.
Dracula?
It was more supernatural satanic vampires.
Mm-hmm. It was a pretty good one from what I remember.
Antichrist with Willem Dafoe. And I still don't understand what that was about 3 years later.
That was just a weird one.
And Martyrs. One of those couple of women buried in the dungeon being tortured movies.
And then didn't go quite where you expected.
No, it did not.
Yeah.
And you can check that over at horrorguys.com/HG for horrorguys051.
Of those 4, I think Martyrs stuck with me the most. That I liked the most of those 4, from what I remember.
I think I like Kiss of the Vampire pretty good.
It was a
little different.
Yeah. None of them were bad.
No.
Have you read any books lately?
No. Oh, you're talking about the Horror Guys Guide to the horror films of Roger Corman. Yes. Pairs very well with the Horror Guys Guide to the horror films of Vincent Price. There's even a little overlap between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Those are available in paperback and can still be shipped in time for Christmas.
And
HorrorGuysShop.com.
If you're really last minute about it, you can get the ebook even as a Christmas gift.
Yeah, if you get your gift card from Amazon or somewhere for Christmas.
And did you know you don't have to have a Kindle device to read Kindle books?
You do not. You can read them on iPad. You can read them on your computer. You can read them on your phone. Anything you want to read. And it doesn't have to be Kindle. They're available on Apple Books, Nook, Barnes & Noble,
wherever fine books are sold.
All the good places.
Yeah.
And, of course, they are available especially as paperback. All right, before we get on to it, we want to talk about our giveaway for the week.
I like giveaways.
We've got 5 copies of Pearl to give away.
Boy, that was a good movie.
We liked that one.
Yeah, love that one. It's a prequel sequel to X.
The movie X that came out back in June. We got these prequel DVDs of Pearl, which I think was actually better than X.
I think so too. Right up there. Yeah. At least as good. But I love that one.
If you'd like one of those, contact us over at email@horrorguys.com. email at horrorguys.com. Say, I would like a Pearl DVD, please.
And we will send you one.
We will. Well, if you're one of the first 5 people.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and we did watch Pearl 3 or 4 weeks ago. You could check out that. Just go to horrorguys.com, do a search, or horrorguyspodcast.com and do a search if you want to listen to the review. But we spoiled we didn't spoil the whole thing.
No, not on the podcast.
Not really.
No. Even in the written version, we didn't completely spoil it.
Okay, so yeah, if you want to know more about it, check it out at one of the usual places, or just email us and watch the thing. It's really good.
Yeah, you betcha.
All right, so on to this week's shows. Let's start out with our short film this week.
That was Satan, the Satan.
The Satan
from 2022.
Not just any old Satan.
It's the Satan. Directed by and written by Alexander Henderson. Stars Jennifer Buckley, Dwayne Cooper, and Dara Emery. Runtime's 11 minutes and 21 seconds, and it's on YouTube to watch for free.
What happens, sort of. Vaguely what happens.
Yeah, and it is kind of a vaguely what happens, because it's a strange sort of short, but it was really good.
Oh, it's very strange.
A woman states, "The afterlife's not what people make it out to be. I am becoming death." Well, a man stomps around an empty parking garage. Another man sits in his room and cries. The strange woman visits the crying man, and we soon see what's going on. And
sorta.
Who is the monster here?
The altered voiceover in the beginning convinced me that I was going to hate this. It's all very distorted and hard to understand. But it went away pretty quickly.
And it's really good.
Yeah, that quickly cleared up, and the weird story got underway. It's very atmospheric, and the music is creepy and just adds to the mood. There's a little tune that they play that I was hearing about in my head all day. It's both a dream and a nightmare combined. So the story isn't super clear or linear, but it is weird and creepy, and that's good enough here.
Yeah, it was. It was a good one.
Yeah, stop over at check out the show notes and watch that one. All right, now to our main feature for the week is Guillermo Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities from 2022, and we watched all 8 episodes.
All in one sitting. No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Not really. That would have been quite a thing.
4 sittings of 2.
They're about 50 minutes apiece.
Yeah, made to run, an hour with commercials, but Netflix doesn't have commercials, so yay.
Yay.
Okay, the spoiler-free of the entire series as a whole. What's this thing about?
Well, each episode of this anthology begins with Del Toro coming out of the darkness and opening some drawer, door, or slidey thing in a big cabinet prop. This is his Cabinet of Curiosities. And he talks while he's doing this. He pulls out some individual trinket and talks about the overall theme of the story and mentions the director. And he places the object and a figure of the director, little figurines for each one, and the story starts. I mean, he's got a table where he, introduces, and here's the story plop. Yeah. Well, none of the stories are interconnected, so you can watch them all individually. There's no overarching story other than his intro. Del Toro is kind of a mumbler. And he's got quite an accent. And found him a little bit hard to follow sometimes. I almost wish he had subtitles in the intro. But fortunately, none of his bits really impact what happens in the stories. He just kind of gives a hint anyway. He doesn't give anything away. He's trying to be kind of a modern-day Rod Serling or Alfred Hitchcock kind of thing.
After I had written this, I was thinking Night Gallery is the closest thing. There's
That's
like a prop
closer
in the beginning that sort of ties into things.
Yeah, yeah, they did that with that. Yeah. Well, overall, the stories themselves are pretty excellent. Each one has 1 or 2 very recognizable stars. Special effects and stories and direction are all really good. And we both thought the final 2 episodes were a little weak, but the ones getting to that point were especially fun.
Overall, I have no regrets.
No.
None of them were bad.
No.
And actually, the last one that I thought was weak was probably the one I've thought about the most since. I got some theories on that one.
See?
Episode 1 is called Lot 36, directed by Guillermo Del Toro, written by Regina Corrado and Guillermo Del Toro. Stars Tim Blake Nelson and Sebastian Roche. You'll recognize both those guys from other things.
Lots of other things.
Yeah. Well, an old man watches the president talk about invading Iraq. So this is sometime in the 90s.
Yeah, and they're
Most
all
of these.
very good about sneaking in what time era is.
Yeah, most of these take place in the past.
Without actually popping up and saying, this is 1991. It's pretty easy to figure out. They're very good at making it clear.
Yeah. Well, this old man seems to eat a lot of TV dinners. After he eats, he goes into the kitchen and cuts the head off a possum and has a heart attack. We see that his keychain has a number 36 stamped on it. Well, Nick Appleton listens to country music and right-wing talk radio. He goes to one of those auctions for an unpaid storage locker, and Lot 36 is first on the block. Nick wins for $400. He's got some kind of scam going with Eddie, the guy who runs the storage place. You know, they acted like there was something shady going on, but he won the bid.
Well, it was kind of a kickback kind of thing, and he makes sure that he wins the bids.
But he legitimately outbid that other guy.
Well, yeah, but for a lot, and then he gives Eddie back some of it, and they work together on, yeah.
I don't see the point of the scam, though. If he outbid the other guy, why give Eddie any more than what he had coming?
Because then when the guy sells the stuff out of the storage thing, Eddie gets more money. Eddie gets money from it. They both get money.
Okay, well, whatever. It's not important to the story. Well, Eddie plays a tape showing the dead man coming to his storage locker. He's been coming every single day for years, since 1945. He'd always bring a bag full of something every day and leave with an empty bag.
So what's he feeding in there?
What do you think What do you think that possum was all about?
Immediately what I wondered. Yeah, what's he feeding?
Amelia comes in, upset that Eddie has auctioned off her unit. It was his mistake, but it's out of his hands now. She had unit 87, and Nick bought it too. Nick is not sympathetic about the woman's photos and pictures being lost. He's a jerk, and he's racist too, so she yells a curse at him. I thought this was going to be a bigger deal, but I think it was just showing us that he's a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She got this sob story about her family photos, and he just doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Nick goes to Unit 36 and starts emptying the stuff out.
Which really is a jerk move. I mean, because those
It would have been no effort
those
for him.
things wouldn't have value. He's interested in selling stuff and, antiques and things. And, her personal mementos and things, he could have given them back to her. If he still had them, he might have already thrown them away.
He said he already cleaned it out, but I don't think he probably really did. I mean, they wouldn't have gone to all this trouble if he couldn't have helped her.
Yeah, but it establishes he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the old man's lot, there's a photo album that shows the former owner in World War II. But it's pictures of Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, you don't know, was he a Nazi or was he like one of those guys who was just there? On the way to his truck, a man hits him in his vehicle with a hammer. Turns out, Nick owes a lot of money to some very bad people. Miss Amelia watches the whole thing. Nick takes a few of the pieces from Lot 36 to an appraiser, and there's a thing called a seance table, and she opens a secret drawer with 3 books inside written in Latin.
It was actually a very cool prop piece.
I would love to have that table.
Yeah.
There's also a wall hanging made from human hair and a gold candlestick. She calls in Roland, an expert on occult antiques. He says the table is used to summon an entity. He suggests that there may be a 4th book somewhere, and that one is worth much, much more. On the way to the storage unit, Roland mentions that he knows all about the old man's family. He was a Nazi, and the unit's owner was a sick, sick man with bottomless appetites. He offered up his sister for the entity to take, and they never found her body.
And are we going to stop there so we don't spoil it completely?
I think we've already gone a little too far on that one. We're going to cut these off?
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should. Yeah. And there's so many subtleties in these things too. They're really well written.
They are.
Because they're like Roland's got the gold candlestick, and it's just
he never explains the gold candlestick.
It's just a little offhanded comment that he makes, but it was made. And I don't remember how he worded it. It was the metal was gradually accumulated from a
different
special,
sources.
yes,
Special
different resources
or something.
Yeah. And you realize, it was gold teeth from
concentration
concentration
camp people.
camp victims. Yeah, but there's all these.
But you got to think, because he never says that.
Yeah, and through all these, there's lots of little things that that's what they meant by that. Yeah.
Yeah, the creature effects, there is a creature eventually, and it's really good, and it is nightmare fuel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good one.
All right, second episode, Graveyard Rats, directed by Vincenzo Natali, written by Henry Kuttner and Guillermo Del Toro, stars David Hewitt and Alexander Ealing. What happens?
Well, a couple of grave robbers open up a grave to admire her jewelry, the body laying there. And after they're done digging it up, a man named Mason pulls a gun on him, claiming to be the caretaker of the cemetery, chases him off. Well, once the two are gone, Mason climbs into the grave and pulls out one of the gold teeth from the woman and takes her jewelry himself. And he drops the tooth, gets bitten by a rat. Well, Mason owes a loan shark and often comes up short on his payment. And he blames the rats for digging up the graves and stealing the bodies through tunnels.
I don't think rats really do that.
No, I don't think so. God only knows what they're breeding down there, he complains. Well, the loan shark gives him a week, or he'll be the one in the cemetery. So Mason goes to Dooley, the coroner, checks if any rich people have died. He bribes Dooley to let him look for gold fillings. Dooley says to wait until tomorrow for the rich shipping magnate. But Mason says that'll be too late. The rats will get him by then. Well, the old dead guy's widow comes in, and they have to hide, and they hear the old man's widow talking about burying him with a priceless saber. So maybe he can wait. And we see that Mason is both terrified and obsessed with rats. Next day, the funeral proceeds on the shipping magnate, and later that night, it's time to dig him up. He opens the coffin, watches the body being dragged into a tunnel. No, he needs the money. So he has no choice but to follow.
Never follow rats into a tunnel buried in the bottom of a grave. It's
yeah.
bad.
Well, he finds a lot of tunnels down there and a lot of bad things.
And that's probably a good
and
stopping
bad
point.
Things happen. Yeah.
Well, David Hewlett is perfect here. He's both evil and a whiny coward at the same time. If you ever saw him in Stargate Atlantis, he's almost the same character.
Almost.
Maybe a little more evil here.
Yeah.
Well, the main creature here is not as convincing as it could have been, but it gets the point across. If you hate rats and tunnels, this is the story for you.
Uh-huh.
Which takes us to episode 3, The Autopsy.
Which I think is my favorite of the 8. This one.
This was a really good one. I'm going to wait until we get to the end to make a judgment. I want to review these again.
Okay.
But yeah, this was a good one. Directed by David Pryor, written by David S. Goyer, Michael Shea, and Guillermo Del Toro. Stars F. Murray Abraham, Glynn Turman, and Luke Roberts. Well, some men work in the coal mine. A man no one recognizes comes down the elevator and throws out a device that explodes.
Explosions in mines are not a good thing.
No. Well, we cut to shots of the town with signs up for many missing persons and grave markers for people who died in the mine. Dr. Carl Winters gets off the bus. He doesn't look particularly healthy. He stops in at the sheriff's station, and he's old friends with Sheriff Nate. Winters wants to know what's going on. 9 men are dead, and he's here to do autopsies to find out what happened.
Yeah, the company sent him to town to investigate and see what happened.
Well, they all died in the mine. We know that much.
And it's interesting, too, because they're talking about he works for the company, and, of course, the company wants, they don't want to pay insurance. They want to pay the minimum, or, payouts or liabilities and stuff. But I thought this conversation was good because he's really a professional and is going to be impartial in his findings and thorough and professional and, He's working for the company, but he's not a shill for him.
Yeah,
I don't know. I thought their banter was a really good way to establish.
The takeaway is he's very honest.
They're both really good guys.
Yeah. Nate warns Carl that he'll never get to the bottom of this story. 2 months ago, a man went missing, and then another. 6 people in a month disappeared. Eventually, they found one of them decomposed, butchered, with a bloodless body. Nate assigned 2 hunters to keep an eye on the body, which looked to be a cache for later feeding. Later, both of the hunters disappeared as well. Well, we get a flashback to Abel, the first victim, running into a guy he thinks he knows. The man says he's Joe Allen, not the man the first victim thought he was.
And this is the guy that was down in the mine that dropped the device, whatever that was.
Joe hypnotizes Abel to make an excuse to leave with him, and Nate says that Joe was really Sykes, a man who went missing 9 months ago after going into the woods to watch a meteor shower. Well, there's weirdness.
Yeah, we can't really spoil this very much, can we?
Yeah, meteor shower. You can probably see where it's going.
Aliens.
The gore and autopsy.
Del Toro mentions that at the beginning. His intro in this one. He talks about it, is there life out there and stuff. So this is a sci-fi horror.
And it's not about an alien autopsy. You might think so from the name, but that's not what it is.
It is an autopsy.
The gore and autopsy scenes here are very realistic. We see pretty early on that the bomb is some kind of alien organic thing. Where it goes from there is more unpredictable. The explanation and speechifying are very good as well. The aliens are not nice people.
Nope.
And it's very cool how he gets outsmarted in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Liked that. My favorite.
Episode 4, The Outside. Directed by Anna Lily Amirpour. Written by Haley Z. Boston, Emily Carroll, and Guillermo Del Toro. I wonder if he really had a hand in writing all of these, or if they're just his little intro parts that he gets credit for.
I don't know. It could be either.
Yeah.
Or he could have, they could have wrote it and then handed it to him, and he could have
script doctored.
Fleeked it. Yeah. Fleeked it?
He could have. Don't be fleeking these things.
He could have, flared it up a bit or something.
Yeah. Stars Kate Micucci, Martin Starr, and Dan Stevens.
This one's a Christmas one.
It is. Yes. What happens?
Well, we see it's Christmas in the suburbs. Stacy watches TV as she eats microwaved chicken. She hears something in the basement, goes down there with an axe. She checks out the whole house, but there's no one there. Well, she calls Officer Keith at the police station. This seems to be a regular occurrence, and he knows her well. Well, it's because he is her husband.
Which is not immediately obvious.
No.
Okay.
But he comes home, and it's kind of a low-key relationship they have. Well, the next day at the bank, we see that Stacy is just plain weird. She draws her Secret Santa name, and it's Gina, one of the coworkers. Later, Stacy shoots a duck and does the full taxidermy thing on it. She's actually very gifted at taxidermy. And Keith comes home. He mentions that, Stacy hates Gina. Why does she want to go to the Secret Santa party? Well, Stacy is really jealous of Gina and wants to see the inside of her house, so she plans to go to the party tomorrow anyway. And she goes to the party. All the catty women from work are there, and they're very cliquey. Yeah. They all talk about vibrators and fillers, like injectable, cosmetic.
And this is probably where we should point out that Stacy is really homely looking.
Mm-hmm.
She's got this huge nose, and her eyes are funky. They go different directions, and she does not fit in with these over Botoxed women
who are trying to be perfect looking, and she's
not even close.
Yeah. Well, it's eventually time for the not so secret Santa. Stacy is surprised it's not really a secret. Well, everyone gets nice gifts from Aloe Glow, a skin cream that all the women seem obsessed with. Stacy gives Gina her gift, and Gina is surprised to find the stuffed duck inside. And Gina is appalled, but she's pretty polite about it.
And she was much nicer than I was expecting her to be.
Yes, yeah.
Somebody gives me a dead bird for Christmas.
Oh, I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind a dead animal for Christmas.
Not if you're as shallow as these people.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Well, they all play with the Aloe Glow cream while gushing over how wonderful it feels. But it doesn't really seem to work on Stacy. She does turn red, though. It's a rash or reaction. And she ends up going home early, all broken out.
It turns out Aloe Glow is a bit addictive.
Yeah.
But does it work is the real question.
Well, yes. Yes, it does.
Well, they have doctors for when you get a rash that bad. Doctors that will tell you to stop using the cream that you're allergic to. But on the other hand, this was no ordinary cream.
No, it was not.
Kate Micucci has some great makeup and prosthetic work throughout the story. I was thinking most of the way through this, I've seen her in other things before, and she is
She
not
doesn't-
that homely.
She doesn't look that funny. Yeah.
Yeah, very good makeup to make her look that bad. The rash and peeling skin are really gross, and it even had me itching and scratching before it was done.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, lots and lots of lotion.
Scratch.
Well, she ends up getting a bit obsessed with the lotion, and yeah, things get carried away.
A little bit, yeah. All right, episode 5 is Pickman's Model. This one I thought could have been the best of the bunch.
But it wasn't.
I didn't understand half of what one of the characters said. He was very, very over-accented.
Yeah, that was a strong accent. Yeah.
Directed by Keith Thomas, written by H.P. Lovecraft, Lee Patterson, and Guillermo Del Toro, stars Ben Barnes, Crispin Glover, who overacted terribly much in this one, and Oriana Leman. What happens?
In Arkansas, Massachusetts.
Not Arkansas.
Did I say Arkansas? Arkansas, Massachusetts. Arkham, Massachusetts.
Now, if you've been to Arkansas and you know what Arkham's all about, you're not too far off there.
Okay. In Arkham, Massachusetts, 1909, they did give us a year on this one. Artist Will paints Rebecca, at least until her father gets home. He's an art student at Miskatonic University. And, yeah, Dad gets home. He dives out the window because he's drawing.
A naked painting.
He's drawing her topless, yeah. Well, there's a new student in class, Richard Pickman, and he draws angrily.
Slash, dice.
Well, there are rumors about Pickman's past, and he's kind of the talk of the class, and he's older than all the other students, too.
Yes, he's easily in his 40s, and the rest of them are college students.
Yeah.
Which in the 1900s was kind of unusual.
Uh-huh. William goes to the cemetery and sees Richard out there drawing a dead cat. He draws monsters in his notebook. Well, there's a big art contest coming up, and Will won last year. They're all wondering who's going to win this year. Well, Richard's submission offends the judges so badly they all walk out.
And Will's outside waiting to see how everybody did, and all suddenly you see all the judges just stomping out the door. And Pickman's inside saying, What?
It's just art. Yeah. Well, Richard Pickman invites Will to his place to see his work, and Will thinks they're disturbing. That's an understatement. He's fascinated by their horror, but he's so disturbed and has such a bad reaction that he goes outside and he vomits when he does. And
I don't know that I've ever seen a painting that bad.
Yeah, and he has nightmares that night. Well, the next day, Will goes to a big garden party thrown by Rebecca's father, and he starts seeing creepy things skulking around the nearby trees, and he makes a scene. He thinks the paintings last night have done something to his mind. Rebecca just thinks he's drunk and tells him to get lost. He sees Richard. He goes to see Richard, but his apartment is empty. He's flown the coop. Flash forward, it's 1926. Will is now married with a family. And one night, he dreams he's at a dinner party. It's the party from Richard's painting all those years ago. The painting was delivered that afternoon. And it's another terrifying painting. That's a painting. It's a different painting.
He didn't look at this new painting that
Right.
came in the mail until after the dream.
It just shows up. Yeah, he's still in the art business. And he also almost kills himself with a knife just by looking at it. Will's son James sneaks in and looks at the painting, and he starts having nightmares.
Yeah, good stopping point.
It's just art.
Yeah, it's more
says
than just
Richard
art.
Pickman. Yeah, there is more to it than that.
Yeah. Well, the paintings here are cool, and the little animated bits are neat, too. When they look at the paintings, you see some of them move, which I don't know if the characters saw that, but we do. Maybe not too surprisingly, Crispin Glover is weird here as Richard. You ever see him play a normal guy?
Very seldom.
It's quite an accent he's got here. Unfortunately, he's nearly unintelligible, which I thought detracted from the story. He plays like this gutter Irish accent, and it is so thick. It's really...
You almost needed subtitles.
I'm sure he's saying something important sometimes. But he's not the main character, but yeah, he could have been so much better. Which takes us to episode 6, Dreams in the Witch House. Directed by Catherine Hardwicke, also written by H.P. Lovecraft, along with Mika Watkins and Guillermo Del Toro. Stars Rupert Grint, Ismael Cruz Cordova, and DJ Qualls. DJ Qualls, you know him, right? He's that tall actor with the weird nose.
Yes.
He played the rat.
Okay.
I kept waiting for him to show up, and then I looked at the credits.
He's the rat.
Oh, he's the
Okay.
rat.
The monkey rat.
The monkey rat. What happens?
Epperly tells her brother Walter that the ghosts are coming for her and she doesn't want to go. These are little kids. He promises to protect her, but then she dies. He soon sees her as a ghost, and then something he can't see drags Epperly's ghost away. Decades later, in 1933, Walter goes to a show concerning other dimensions. He's a spiritualist now, and this is a spiritualist demonstration. It looks really convincing on stage. She can talk to people in other dimensions, and it's sort of a seance on stage. But Walter and his assistant colleague go backstage and overhear them talking about how they faked it. Yeah, so... Well, Walter wants to prove that the other side is real. He's seen it when he was a kid, but he can't prove it to anyone. His friend Frank wants to move on. He's tired of being broke, working for the Spiritualist Society. The man in charge says the Spiritualist Society may close soon. They're running out of money, and all paid work is halted, all their projects.
There's just not a lot of money in proving that the supernatural is real.
Yeah. Well, Walter gets a job as a bartender. Frank says Walter cares more about his dead sister than the living. Walter meets up with a Native American man who knows all about the afterlife. The man gives him a drug, warns him to not make ripples in the force when he gets to the other side. Walter wakes up, and he can see the forest of the dead. A vine pulls him through. There's a strange forest beyond, and he looks for Epperly, who he finds surprisingly quickly. But then he wakes back up in the real world. When Walter goes to see Frank, he tells him everything. Well, Frank is not a believer. He's never seen any evidence or anything. Walter goes back inside, finds a woman painting a picture of a witch house. This forest is only for those who are too afraid to move on into the afterlife. And then he gets pulled back this time, but he's grabbed a chunk of Epperly's dress, and he's got that in his hand.
Things can come back.
Mm-hmm. Like Friday the 13th, or not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, grabbing Freddy's hat. You wake up and it's real. Well, Walter does some research and finds out where the witch house is located in the real world. He packs his stuff and goes there. It's a nasty, overgrown, moldy old place infested with monkey rats.
What?
Yeah, those are weird little creatures.
Well,
yeah.
it turns out it's just one. It's a monkey with a man's face. But,
yeah.
Or it's a rat. Well, or is it a rat with a man? Yeah, it's a monkey rat.
We just call it a monkey rat, yeah. He learns of a key to returning things from the afterlife. And what is that key? Well, that night, something nasty comes to visit him in bed. It's the witch and the little talking monkey rat.
Yeah.
And then weird things happen.
Oh, yeah.
Very weird.
Then it takes a turn.
Yeah.
As we were told in the beginning, this story has a happy ending, at least for someone.
Mm-hmm.
The witch is a fascinating-looking creature with an excellent design. I like that witch. Maybe the best creature of the series. The talking monkey rat, the CGI is not so great. The sets here are really good, although the story is kind of thin. Well, the guy wants to prove the afterlife, and he goes to the afterlife, and he brings something back with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He does.
I liked it.
Yeah.
This might be, the autopsy and this one might be my two favorites.
Oh, okay.
They're kind of tied. What'd you think of this one?
It was okay.
All right. Which takes us to episode 7, The Viewing. Now, this one I thought was the most promising. I really liked this one. They just had a really bad ending.
Ending was weak, I thought.
Yeah, it was good up until the last minute. Directed by Panos Cosmatos. Written by Panos Cosmatos, Aaron Stewart-Ann, Guillermo Del Toro, and Sofia Boutella. No, Sofia Boutella is one of the stars. I got that in the wrong line.
Yeah, it's in the wrong line.
Stars Peter Weller, Stephen Agee, Eric Andre, and yes, that's where Sofia Boutella belongs. It's 1979. Charlotte gets an invitation from Lionel Lasseter to attend one of his famous viewings. He's kind of a rich recluse. She drives to an isolated parking garage to meet Targ, Randall, and Guy. The four of them figure out they've all been guests on late-night TV talk shows, and that's about the only thing they have in common. Hector drives up and tells them all to get in the back of his van to go to the viewing. Hector turns on an audio tape, and the four passengers listen to strange music. I think he just didn't want to hear him talking anymore.
Yeah, I think so.
Dr. Zera gives Lionel Lassiter an injection of something. The people in the van arrive at the mansion, and it's a really trippy kind of place. Targ is a know-it-all, fake psychic, or at least everybody thinks he's a fake, and he likes to prove how smart he is. After some discussion, Lionel comes in with a 50-year-old bottle of whiskey, and he makes them all have a drink. Lionel says he will inspire Guy to write his greatest book. Targ is working with scientists on ESP. Charlotte wants to prove the existence of alien life in the universe. And Randall is a huge music producer, but he's having trouble with his newest release. Kevin said Lionel seemed like a messed up Willy Wonka.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's inviting all these people here for one of you will win one of you will win all of this.
Randall admits,
but he's they're all incredible geniuses in their own distinct field or category. So
yeah, they're all good at something.
Yeah, why has he brought them here?
Randall admits that he has a void inside him, an endless abyss. He has no way to shrink that void. He wants it to stop eating everything up all the time. Well, Dr. Zera tells a story about working for Gaddafi and what he was like. Lionel says he serves Dr. Zera. She spoons out about 1/2 pound of cocaine for the others to split, and she puts on fairy dust that she designed herself. Randall asks if this is some kind of test, and Lionel admits that it is. Each of them has been precisely chosen to be a part of this group tonight. Lionel has a reason and a plan. There's an item he wants to show them all. Before long, they're all fairly well baked, and a door opens, and they all go to see the object.
And we're not going to tell you what
could
it is.
It be?
Things get very weird from there.
Maybe almost a little too weird.
Almost, yeah.
Well, the set and the time period here are interesting. The music is awesome. The story is, it's really talky. It's mostly just people sitting around talking, and has no real ending as the weak part. What was that thing, and what happened next? We were entertained throughout, but at the end we're like, oh, is that it?
We want more.
Yeah.
More.
It ended just as it was getting good.
Well, it was good before, but yeah, we wanted more.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And the final episode, episode 8, The Murmuring. Directed by Jennifer Kent, written by Jennifer Kent and Guillermo Del Toro, stars S.E. Davis, Andrew Lincoln, and Greg Elwand. What happens?
It's 1951. Nancy gives a lecture about a bird that swarms mysteriously. The swarming is called murmurations.
The murmuring.
The murmuring,
okay.
Yeah. And you've seen it, the big clouds of birds where they seem to move in different shapes and cloud, clump and then fly apart. And it's that sort of thing. And they could even be telepathic, but she doesn't really think that, but they're just looking at all the possibilities. Well, she's the brains, or at least as much of the brains as the duo, her and her husband. But the audience is mostly interested in talking to her husband because that's how things were in 1951.
And you can see she's a little annoyed that they all want to talk to him and not her, because she thinks she's the brains.
Well, she is, more than at least half, if not more of the
He's more of a cameraman and audio recorder. She's the scientist.
Yeah, and it was notable too, even to the point he tried to defer, saying to the crowd, hey, she's the genius, and then they all proceed to talk to him.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
But at one point, there's a couple of rich patrons, and she's kind of zoned out because she's just, gone through this whole thing, getting ignored. And they ask her a direct question, and she almost looks surprised. And like, what?
You noticed? You remembered me.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Well, someone mentions that something bad happened to Edgar and Nancy a while back, but we don't hear what it was. The duo goes on a field trip, and they are married. Did we mention that?
I don't know if we did, but they are.
Yeah. They go on a field trip to photograph some of the flocking birds. And there's an isolated old house on an island where they can stay. They find lots of the birds, and they're happy. That night, Nancy hears a baby crying. Suddenly, their tape recorder switches on, waking them both up. The next day, he shoots film while she does audio recordings, and later she hears footsteps in the house. Edgar gets home. That night, they're just hanging out. He wants to dance. She's not in the mood. And you're never in the mood, he complains. So there's something going on. There's some strife there. That night, she finds a bunch of the birds resting in the attic, and something that species is not normally known for doing. There's no record of them ever living in a house like that. After a while, Nancy hears a child's voice on the tapes, and she thinks the house is drawing the birds for some mysterious reason. And we gradually learn that she's still in mourning and shock over the loss of their child. They had a kid.
All right. And then they start getting visits from a ghostly child.
Uh-huh.
Weirdness ensues.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I have reconsidered this one since I wrote my review here. My commentary at the time was, man, that was boring. It was a more realistic ghost story without a lot of jump scares or over-the-top weirdness.
I wasn't as bored as you were the first time around.
Unfortunately, that makes it kind of slow. We had thought there would be a twist at the end where we would see that she did something bad, but that didn't happen. She simply straightened out her thinking after helping the ghost boy.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I thought about it, the more I think it was just being really, really subtle. And what we thought was going on really did.
Okay.
Which I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah. Okay.
You can read our review over at Horror Guys if you want the full spoilers and my theories. But yeah, it's very subtle in what's going on, but I think something did go on.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
Unlike the previous one that just didn't have a stupid end, just didn't have any ending.
Mm-hmm.
All right, overall, I would say very strong thumbs up for the whole series.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There are a couple of weak ones. The one with the skin cream was a little weak.
Oh, that one I like the more I think about it. Yeah. That was...
Okay, and that last one I hated, but the more I think about it, the more I like it. So overall, I think... Ask us next week. We'll probably give it an even stronger thumbs up.
Actually, The Witch House, I think, might have been my least favorite. The one that you mentioned was one of your tops. And
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't understand all of The Witch House. It seemed kind of rushed.
Didn't grab me that much.
The first half of The Witch House seemed very kind of slow and plodding, and then an awful lot happened awful fast.
Yeah, they did cram a lot.
Yeah. All right. And, of course, over at horrorbulletin.com, we talk about scary stories to tell in the dark, which Guillermo Del Toro had a hand in writing also. Mm-hmm. And although it's not really an anthology, it's based on a series of children's horror books, so it's kind of similar. You know, there's multiple monsters and things like that.
Yes.
And then there's his version of Pinocchio, which is not an anthology. It's just one big story. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty good also.
And it said that that's based more on the original book than the Disney is.
To a certain point.
There's some real similarities. It's the same basic thing. The puppet kid.
It takes place during World War I and World War II, but Pinocchio was written in the late 1800s. So, yeah, it's been I might say updated to World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken a few liberties.
Yeah.
But it's closer than Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And next week, guess what?
We're going to have more movies?
We're going to have 4 movies and a short, just like always.
Awesome.
Check out horrorguys.com to read all our spoilery reviews and synopses and things. Horrorbulletin.com to get our newsletter every week that's got everything. If you don't remember to go to our website, sign up at Horror Bulletin. You'll get them all in your email. You won't have to remember. Check out our books. It's still time for Christmas deliveries of paperbacks.
Yes, it is.
Just hint, hint. We got a whole bunch of horror guys.
And if you get, gift cards for Christmas, you know what to spend them on.
You do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, send us your money. The more you send us, the more we'll have. Next week, we will have 4 more horror movies for you. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.